So the third test of the series gets underway, like we said before, after what feels like an absolute eternity since the second. And heading into it, Peter, there's been a lot of team news kind of coming about, and obviously, we haven't seen Virat Kohli this series, and it sounds like we're not going to see him at all now, doesn't it? Off what we've heard, and I think it might have actually been confirmed now that yeah, we're not going to be seeing Kohli in this series. So it's probably a blessing for England fans, but I mean for Indian fans and the neutrals, it's a bit disappointing because at the end of the day, you want to have the best players available and playing at all times, really, don't you?
Yeah, you want the best. You want the best playing the best. I think as England fans, initially your heads go, "Yes, we're not playing Kohli. Thank goodness it gives us a chance, or it gives us a better chance of winning." But deep down, I want to see Kohli back because Kohli's an exceptional batter, and I would love to see him have a go against Mark Wood. Mark Wood steaming in at 90 miles an hour and Virat Kohli at the other end. That sounds perfect to me. Jimmy Anderson, one of the greatest bowlers to have ever lived, against Virat Kohli, one of the best batters to have ever lived. That sounds good to me. Yeah, I mean, it does give England a better chance to get something out of the series because a massive run machine in the middle order has gone for India. But it is a shame that he won't be there. Obviously, we wish him the best and we hope for a speedy recovery from whatever's going on in those family issues. And and I know there's lots of people that will be able to take the reins and put some good runs in. Jaiswal's obviously stepped up to the mark at the moment. As an Indian fan, yeah, obviously you want Kohli there, and it's a shame that he won't be. But also, it looks like we're not going to have KL. Well, certainly we're not going to have KL Rahul for the next test as well. And I think he's quite a big blow as well. Would you say, Paddy?
He is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on it before how he's not quite at the levels of, of Corley and Jaiswal in terms of batting. But I mean, to not have him available, it's another huge blow for India. And it's like what you touched on there, that you do want to see all the best players playing. It's just obviously it's nice when the best players aren't playing against your team, but I think deep down you want it to be a lively, competitive series, and that happens by having all the best players playing. Really,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
it's as that. But I mean, having not having Rahul there either, it's a blow. But at the same time, we've seen, as you just said there, players like Jaiswal have made the step up, and when their team needs runs, he's answered the call. So I think in terms of how India approach the game, I mean they are going to be down a few big names, but that they'll have more than enough to be a real, but pose a real challenge to England, I think. And you're looking at you know England have had sort of very similar instances of players not being available. From the outset, we had, the Harry Brook news, where he went home again for, similar to Kohli. He's not part of the tour because of personal reasons. And again, obviously, we wish him all the best. There was talk that he may come back for some part in the series. But, at this point in time, it's still a bit up in the air.
Mm, mm.
And then obviously, in terms of actual injuries, England have had the blow in terms of Jack Leach, who he just can't seem to catch a break at the minute, can he?
No, especially with the fact this is a separate issue to the one that he suffered in the summer just gone, where he was out of the Ashes. So yeah, he's desperately unlucky. We are lucky in a sense that we came with lots of spinning options into the team, and we've got Joe Root that can turn the ball over as well. So we're lucky that we have four potential spin options for Rajkot, even though the um, ESPN Quick Info are supposedly reporting a green tinged pitch, which might be interesting. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think the one downside to not having Jack Leach is that it does leave our team, and maybe that was kind of exposed in the second test. It does leave our team looking quite inexperienced on the bowling front, and we've already spoke about how many how many test caps Jimmy Henson has, massively different compared to the other options in the spin department. And BBC are reporting that Ollie Pope supposedly said that there's every possibility that there'll be two seamers in this game, which will be a break from what's happened in the last two tests anyway, where we've only picked Wood and then Anderson respectively in the tests. What do you think? How do you think England might? Obviously, we can't predict, but do you think that they might go for two seamers this time around?
I can see it. To be honest, I know some of the journalists have kind of suggested that. Well, I don't know if it's actually been confirmed yet, but apparently England are going to basically trim the squad down to 12, and it's essentially going to be the 11 from the second test plus Mark Wood. So hearing the kind of suggestions from Ollie Pope, and then seeing that the news about the squad being reduced, it really does. And obviously, what you touched on about the pitch, if it does have a bit more life in it for quicker bowlers than the first two, just kind of feel like everything's pointing towards Mark Wood coming in and being the second seamer.
Mm.
Then obviously you've got the question of which of the three spinners, which of the three frontline spinners will be taken out, because that's it's going to be a pretty tough call. After we
Yeah,
discussed
I think
earlier
it is. Yeah.
about how they've all had very good starts to the series. Obviously Ahmed is still very fresh to Test cricket. Then you've got Hartley and Bashir making their debuts in this series, and they've all played really well. But one of them is going to have to take a step back for this third test, and I mean that's going to be a really interesting call. I don't know if I mean, I think you can kind of think Ahmed will probably play, considering it sounds ridiculous to say, but he's got a bit more experience than the other two. It's crazy to
Yeah.
think that he's still
Yeah.
only played about 5 tests. But no, I do think that, and the fact that he's quite aggressive with the bat. His bowling was, he had brilliant figures in that second test. So I think he's going to keep his place. And then I think it's going to be a case of who's the preferred out of Bashir and Hartley, I think, and that is going to be a pretty tough decision, I think, for Stokes and obviously McCullum as well. So no, I mean, whoever gets the nod, I think they'll have deserved it. Whoever gets told, "Oh, you're 12th man this game," is going to feel pretty hard done by. And but it's kind of good that you have these difficult decisions to make, and in sport, it's kind of referred to as like a good headache and a good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, Peter. Have you got any ideas to, or who would you like to see? You know, keep their spot for the third test, given that it does kind of sound like we're going to be going with Jimmy and Wood as a double pace attack.
Yeah. I would say the one thing with the 12 supposedly that we have going into Rajkot, I will say one thing is that as we speak, uh, supposedly Rehan Ahmed is having the same visa issues as what Shoaib Bashir had before the first test. Ben Stokes is optimistic that they will be fixed by the time that we go into Thursday's test, but obviously that might play a factor in how fit Rehan Ahmed is to join the side. Whether he's in India at all as well might be an issue.